Talked about main gaining and lean gaining on this channel extensively, countless times. I mean,
Here are just my thoughts on lean gaining. Yes, overall, being in an energy deficit does seem to impair muscle growth. The effect isn't major, and muscle growth can still happen in most individuals in a calorie deficit. Most studies find that there's very little relation to the size of the surplus compared to rate of muscle growth. Basically means that the more calories you eat doesn't correlate with faster muscle growth. If you're in a 200 calorie surplus versus a 600 calorie surplus, a surplus is the surplus. When you compare being in a deficit to a surplus, you'll notice that there are better muscle gains in this situation. There is a sweet spot depending on how advanced the trainee is for how big the surplus should be. Ideally, what we want to try and do is push the calories as high as possible whilst minimizing the fat gain. If you're a novice and you've only had 6 months maybe to a year of training, at a 5 to 15% surplus is going to be a good start. About 0.5 to 1% of your total body weight per week gain. If you're intermediate, about 2 to 7% surplus would be ideal, and around a 0.2 to 0.5 weight gain per week is advisable. And if you're advanced, about a 1 to 3% energy surplus. Generally speaking, the safest area of body fat percentage for men to stay in most of the year round is about 9 to 17%. And for women, it's about 19 to 28%. If you're above these numbers, it's not to say that you can't make progress. This is arguably the optimal ideal body fat range. As you start to get higher in body fat percentages, things tend to be not so much optimal anymore. As a result, the higher you go as a male in body fat past these numbers, it starts to result in lower testosterone and higher estrogen. In some men, as you start getting really high in these numbers in body fat percentages, you can start to develop hypogonadism, which is basically low testosterone. Insulin sensitivity starts to suffer, sleep starts to suffer, hormone production can start to suffer, and just all round speaking, the more fatter you become, the more unhealthy your body becomes, which is why we have, generally speaking, a healthy body fat range. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, like and subscribe for more.